What's going on, Nerd Nation? Welcome back to another episode 28 of the Comic Book Nerd Nation. We've got the whole crew here again this week. I'm Fox2. We got DePirate.
I love coffee.
Topher.
I have Britney Spears' Hit Me Baby One More Time stuck in my head all morning, and I'm not sure why.
And the whole effing Brian.
God, I really hope that song doesn't stick in my head.
I hope it does.
Oh, God. Okay, so before we get into talking about the comics that we've been reading and the news and stuff, two things that I wanted to just cover, one's housekeeping and then the other one's kind of funny I thought we could talk about for a couple minutes. First of all, I just want to remind everybody that our website is up and running, www.comicbooknerdnation. All kinds of different stuff on there. There's going to be reviews, there's going to be news, there's free forums on there, so sign up, chime in. Also check us out on facebook.com/comicbooknerdnation. Yeah, that's about it. Or Twitter too. I think we're on there sometimes, not a lot. Comic book. What is it?
Comic Book NN.
Comic Book NN.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, this thing. I was reading this article this morning when I got up, and this kind of pertains to. It definitely pertains to the comic book world. In South Korea, there was a statue that was in a shopping mall of Spider-Man. I guess with the rise in popularity of...
Oh, yeah. Right.
Okay, hang on. Let's get to that. Okay, so with the rise of popularity of the comic book universe and everything, they wanted to do something, along those lines. So they hired an artist to make a statue that would hang off of the wall of Spider-Man. And so it's like doing a back bend on the wall,
like
kind of. He's
like
doing like a back bridge on the wall upside down, like he's getting ready to like spring off the wall and like web sling across the mall type thing. And it's right above. Hang on, it's right above the like kids play area or whatever. And the reason I bring this up is because Spider-Man has a huge raging erection. And I just
pointing down perfectly.
It is like, it's not like one of those like you look at it and you're like, kinda, like I guess it, like this is a full blown throbbing boner. Like this isn't,
fear boner.
Yeah, this isn't like a bulge that could be mistaken for like, they're trying to sexual innuendos and this and that and the other. This is like somebody, the artist, whoever this dude is, made this thing with a full hard-on. Like Spider-Man had just went in the back and popped like 15 Viagra. So my question to the group is, what do you think was going on inside the artist's head when he developed this thing? Let's start with Brian, because he's got a really devious grin on his face over here.
First of all, I have it up right now. And that is just...
So does Spider-Man.
Yeah, that is just awkward. I mean, the position he's in is kind of weird, too. Like, he's upside down with his hands and feet on... He's doing, like, a crab walk.
Yeah, upside down.
On the wall, upside down, and his junk is just hanging there. Like, full-blown, like...
It's so... the Spider-Man... the Spider-Man movie, The Famous Kiss between Mary Jane and him, where he's hanging upside down? This is like the fucking erotic XXX version where he can do that maneuver upside down and Mary Jane can suck on it.
It's just... it's like fan fiction. Spider-Man.
Topher, have you seen this? Are you looking at the pictures now?
Yeah, I just pulled it up and... What the proper fuck? Like, that's... like, we're not talking about a bulge. We're talking about, like...
like a baby arm holding an apple.
There is actually, like, something sticking straight out. Like, like I just thought it was,
it's his
like...
web shooter.
A bulge in his pants, but, like, clearly pronounced or something. No, this is sticking straight out. This is not a bulge. This is a spear.
Well, I guess something more than the spider senses are tingling.
Oh my God!
It reminds me of the time we was in Lexington and went to the Lexington Comic Book and Toy Convention, and me and Fox's buddy was with us, Jeff, and he's not into comics or comic book convention. He just lives in the area and was kind of hosting us around and stuff. And a Spider-Man would walk by or Deadpool or something.
Oh yes.
And he's like, I don't know what it is. I mean, he's completely heterosexual, has a girlfriend and everything, and he's like, I don't know what it is, but I can't stop staring at people's junk. And I was
Every time one of these dudes walks by, Cause curious.
So I think the artist of this is Cause Curious. Like, I wonder what it would be like if Spider-Man had a boner.
There's nothing Cause Curious about that. That's like a 4-foot rod of fury coming out of his pants.
Maybe a rebar popped in the wrong spot and it just happened to look.
Yeah, right.
So I found a statement by the artist who says, he goes, I am the artist who made this piece. My reason for it was that I wanted to apply the natural physical phenomenon to a superhero depicting what's natural in the morning without lies and superficialness in a comical way.
So in the morning,
what does morning wood have to do with Spider-Man in a mall?
Hanging above kids.
Hanging above kids. Oh wow!
I think the artist wanted to depict what happens to him when he hangs around kids.
So they made him actually either commit to changing it and like redoing Spider-Man's crotch and like fixing his junk, like giving it the tuck maneuver to the side. That would have been the really funny thing, is if they he redid it and like made it to where it was like tucked into the side, but you could still see it like bent around or something.
Or like taped to his leg. Or something.
Yeah, he's got it like duct taped to his leg, like. But I guess what he opted to do was just actually remove the statue, which, like, other than the fact that it's got like a 3-foot erection, the statue looks pretty cool. Like, everything else about it looks neat. But the fact that it looks like a fucking child rapist hanging upside down above a playground is just beyond me.
He's full on Ron Jeremy.
I just found a picture of a guy who's got a rope tied around it, and he's like climbing down the rope.
That's hanging from the dick?
That's hanging from Spider-Man's penis.
Yes! Oh, God.
Fantastic.
I told you it was his web shooter.
Oh, my God. I wish... I just...
Pirate, you could probably buy that for your backyard on eBay now.
Hell yeah.
Now we know how he managed to give Mary Jane cancer.
You know what you could do, Pirate? You could get that, and then just like that South Park episode, you put some wheels on either end of it, and you just sit on the thing and go up and down, and it'll make it go forward. Like, what's that?
Why the fuck am I? Are you trying to vicariously live through me or something, dude? You fuck. What the fuck? Why you have to be me?
Why not?
Fucking sit on your own goddamn Spider-Man boner.
Okay, enough goofing around. I just saw that article and I thought it was funny. I thought that'd be something that we could talk about. So let's talk about what we've been reading this week. Topher, let's start with you.
I haven't read much this week. Just a little bit more of the Annihilation and Conquest series that puts the Guardians of the Galaxy together. Trying to go back through and and see how they come together in the comics again. So when the movie comes out here in a couple months, it can be a little more, so I can be the guy who walks out and be like, wasn't how they did it in the comics. But
you don't do that? No. No.
I've always been pretty forgiving of the way
oh, that's right. You're not Brian.
Plot lines in the movies.
No, Brian. He completely says this sucks before it happens, unless it's fucking Guardians of the Galaxy. But if it's not, it just sucks. Then it comes out. He's like, it wasn't that bad.
Does that mean Guardians of the Galaxy is actually going to suck then because Brian's actually excited about it?
Excited for it.
I hope not. If it does,
going suck.
If it does, I'm blaming Brian for it. I'm not blaming him.
Except for maybe
Brian's fault.
The way Ant-Man's going, but
yeah, we'll get into that in the news section. Yeah.
But the only major one I read was what was it? It was the limited series for Quasar, who is some character that until I started reading all this, I really hadn't really heard much of. There was an original Quasar, and then there's the original Captain Marvel's daughter, Phyla, ends up taking over the role, and she's actually in a relationship with Moondragon, who's another former Avenger, and the two of them are going around and doing random stuff around the cosmic universe. It's actually kind of interesting. But the writer on it, his name's Christos Gage. I was like, oh, I kind of like this, and then I saw who the author was, and I realized when I was reading AVX, I really liked some of the tie-in issues with it, and one of my favorites was actually Avengers Academy. And I actually finished reading out the rest of that series, and turns out it was the same author who wrote this limited series about Quasar that I just read, and like that Avengers Academy is another like really solid series.
Nice. So Brian, what about you, man?
I read some new stuff like Batman Eternal, but what I've been rereading is the Batman Death of a Family.
Oh, that was so good. Death of the Family?
Yeah. I mean, that was a really good read. One of the first, maybe it was the second big storylines in the New 52 Batman.
Yeah.
I really like how they do the Joker, where he's just like, he wants Batman and only Batman. He doesn't want all these sidekicks in the way. He wants Batman as he used to be and stuff like that, and he's just mentally screwing around with everybody.
Yeah.
Making it seem like he knows everything about them and stuff like that. And I really like how they draw the Joker, where he's wearing his face as a mask.
Yeah. That their DC later this year is actually releasing The Mask.
Yeah, with that book.
Yeah.
I want to buy that.
I'm gonna
you
buy
can
it
already
too.
get the mask.
I'm probably gonna buy 2 of them so I could wear one around. And
I'm just gonna get just the mask because I've already got the book. But yeah, what are you thinking of the Batman Eternal series? You said you've been keeping up with it.
I like it. I mean, I've heard rumors that there is that later on in the series he's gonna have Scott Snyder. Right, Scott Snyder does it.
Yeah, Scott Snyder's one of the guys.
Later on, they're gonna have a story with the Joker returning again, and he's gonna be like fed up with everything, fed up with Batman, and he's not gonna play nice anymore. Well, as nice as he used to play.
That should be interesting.
But I really like in the Death of the Family. I really like how if you look at Joker, one eye's all like deranged, his other eye looks normal.
Yeah.
It's just like, I think to date, that's the most psychotic I feel that they made the Joker. Yeah, exactly. That eye's all crazy, even though that back cover is Batman behind him. But that's the crazy eye. Crazy eyes.
Yeah, that book is definitely one of my favorite Batman stories.
Yeah, that's definitely a put on your must-read list.
I still haven't read it. I stopped after Night of the Owls, and I was like, oh, I need to pick this series back up again. And I just got that a couple weeks ago, and still haven't gotten around to reading it yet. Now I'll have to, because Brian recommended it.
Yes.
Right. Pirate, what have you been reading?
Let's see. What did I read this week? I've been on a big Green Lantern or Lantern Corps kick period. I've been with the New 52. I've been reading, I went through and read the first 20 Green Lanterns, and then now I'm going through and reading the first 20 Green Lantern Corps and New Guardians, and then I'm on some early. I've been starting on the Red Lanterns and the Larfleece. So I've been pretty heavy on that. Original Sin 3, I read that. For those that have you guys have all
I've read it.
Yeah.
I don't think Winter Soldier shot the Watcher. Just saying. I don't think it was him. I think he definitely has got something fucked up going on with him, but I don't think he was the one.
Yeah, that was a weird ending to that book.
Yeah. I think he did it.
Yeah, I don't think he's definitely in on something, but he was not the one who shot. I mean, because you got to think they're on a planet that's fucking it's like a dead fucking body riddled with bullet holes for craters, and even though Winter Soldier's an exceptional fucking being, I don't think they're insinuating that he's the one who killed the Watcher. Somebody more powerful did it, and that's of course what the planet with the fucking bullet holes in it was all about. But I think he might have had something to do with it, but I don't know. I don't think it was him, but it was a good book. I liked it. I don't like the only thing I don't like about Original Sin and the way it's run is I don't like the layout of the panels. There's some confusing like interaction amongst characters that I don't like especially like the scene with Captain Rogers and Fury. I don't like how it was edited and laid out. I think they just rushed it and like threw something on there. It didn't fucking flow very well, in my opinion. But other than that, I thought it was a good read.
I like Original Sin. I didn't find any problems with it at all. I think it's really entertaining. I like where they're headed with it. I just hope that they don't try to do too much because of how many characters they're bringing into it. I feel like they could really water it down, but we'll just have to see as it goes forward.
I'm kind of anticipating this Original Sins.
Yeah.
The one that's going to show you like everybody's sin that they saw when the I-bomb blew up.
See, but there's only certain ones that I think would find interesting on top. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm interested in the Iron Man versus Hulk. I'm interested in the Loki and Thor, where they find their sister.
Well, their sister is. I don't know if you've been reading. Pirate, you said before you've been reading Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, their mom, or not mom, but the person who's in control of Asgard and which Earth falls into, where they have the first nine at the council.
Yeah.
Trying to get Earth into the cosmic world.
Yeah. After the whole that Thanos. Oh no! After the Age of Ultron, where all the timeline stuff if you've been reading the Marvel Now and Age of Ultron, and that timeline shit happened where all the timeline got all screwed up, and you've been having all these weird things happen. They introduced a character that used to be in the Spawn comics that Marvel bought because the Image didn't own her, the artist did. Her name was Angela. Angela. She was reintroduced into Guardians of the Galaxy after all that happened because Marvel bought the rights to her. She's going to end up being Thor and Loki's sister.
Oh, okay.
Like, she was in the Image comics and the Spawn comics, she was an angel, and she was a warrior angel, and she, kills Hellspawns every time one appears and stuff like that. And Marvel bought the rights to her because the artist owned her, not Image.
Oh, that should be. I'm interested to read that one to see how it kind of plays out and stuff, how they work her in. But the other thing that I read this week was I had not read yet was Blackest Night by Jeff Johns, and that was an amazing book.
That's one of my favorite Green Lantern.
Yeah, it's just from like the second or third page in, it really pulls you in and wants you to read more. The way that they talk about everything that's happened and everything that's happening in that storyline, and with the death of all the superheroes, and then they all start coming back as Black Lanterns, and it's pretty freaking epic. And then you get to see all the visualization of like, basically the Justice League people becoming White Lanterns, and you got Lex Luthor as an Orange Lantern, and
Scarecrow is the Yellow Lantern.
Scarecrow as a Yellow Lantern. I mean, it's pretty awesome. So, and I think Wonder Woman was
she was the
blue
violet.
Or violet.
No, Flash was the Blue Lantern.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman was the violet.
Who was the Red Lantern?
That was Mera, Aquaman's wife.
Ah, yeah. That's right.
Adam was the Indigo Lantern.
Yeah, he got into the Indigo tribe.
Nobody got a Green Lantern ring.
No, the Guardian took the Green Lantern ring.
He made himself a Green Lantern.
Right. So
He was the only Guardian that felt emotion.
it was pretty epic story. I'm definitely going to pick up the Brightest Day book and read that.
Brightest Day was good. Did you read any of the offshoots of Blackest Night?
No, I just bought the trade paperback.
I've read the Green Arrow ones. They're pretty good.
The Green Lantern and the Green Lantern Corps are the best tie-ins to read for
Okay.
Blackest Night.
I'll look into that. The other thing that I read, well, I've started reading, so I kind of reserve judgment a little bit on this, but if you've been a fan of our podcast, back in like episode 7 or 12, I don't know, somewhere in that ballpark, we got to speak with Neil Adams. And I purchased Neil Adams' Batman Odyssey. And I've been trying to read it. And the art is good. I think Neil Adams is a phenomenal artist. I really do. But so far, and I'm only like maybe 25% of the way through the book, but so far, it's just not that engaging. It's just not super fun and entertaining and stuff. So I don't know. I hope it gets better, but right now it's not one of my favorite Batman stories. But the art is awesome. It is. I've gotten to see some of the stuff where people get pissed off because it shows Batman having had a gun at one point. I don't see the problem with the way that he works it into the story. I don't see a problem with it. He basically presents it as though because he was inexperienced at the time, he used the gun almost as an emergency crutch type of thing, and it kind of backfired. Well, not like literally backfired, but like it didn't work out the way that he wanted it to, and it kind of blew up in his face. So that's part of the reason why he doesn't use guns at all anymore. So it's, I don't think it's that far out of the line of the Batman mythos, but it's, I don't know. As a story right now, it's just not that entertaining.
Well, I know he used the gun when they first created Batman back in
In the early Detective Comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He used the gun for a little bit.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm going to, like I said, I'll finish reading it and I'll let you guys know what I think once I'm finished with it. But right now it's not going to be one where I'm going to just read through it in one sitting like some of these other books, like the Blackest Night or like Death of the Family, where I just can't put it down. But
When Neil hears this episode, he's going to call you and wonder why you're hating on him.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I'll be honest with him if he wants to talk about it. That's totally cool. I think he's a phenomenal artist. His art is some of my favorite comic book art that's out there, but I just don't really care for this particular story yet. I might change my mind completely. Again, I'm only 25% of the way into the book too, so it's hard to say. It may be one of those things, and he did tell us too during the podcast, if you go back and listen to it, that it is one of those things where like you kind of read all the way through it and you get to the end and you're like, oh, now that makes sense, and then you like have to go back and read it again to get the full picture. So by the time I'm finished with the book, it could be I might love it. I don't know yet, but we'll just have to kind of wait and see. All right, let's move over to the news. What do we got in the news this week, Brian? Start with you.
Well, the whole director hunt for Ant-Man has come to the end.
Yes, let's talk about this.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Peyton Reed. If you're not familiar with him, here comes the problem. He's done movies like Yes Man, starring Jim Carrey, Bring It On. We all know what Bring It On is.
That's Brian's favorite movie.
Yeah, I like cheerleaders, but yeah, the breakup with
Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston.
Which was a mediocrely okay movie.
down with
It's all
love.
right.
He's directed episodes of The New Girl or New Girl. He's done all lackluster comedies. The
So
Weird
I've
Al
never seen
Show,
one thing that you've mentioned so far.
Upright Citizen Brigade,
So basically, Ant-Man is going to be like
some kind of comedy.
Is Paul Rudd still playing in it, right?
Yeah, he got Lang.
That just makes it more like
Okay, so
Brian Fantana.
here's the yeah, right. So here's the question then, like,
Smells like a whale's dick.
hey, 60% of the time it's going to work every time.
do you think, Brian, since you, as documented immensely through our podcasts, you're a hater of the Superman v Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice movie, and
Dawn
it's
of
going to be terrible in your opinion, which is wrong. But do you think that it's going to be better than Ant-Man?
Yeah, the way. I mean, I want to shoot myself for saying it, but
Go ahead.
there's
Go
so
ahead.
much shit going on with Ant-Man. Like, it's just the same amount of doo-doo that's been happening with Superman, Batman, but even more because I don't know. I don't like the casting as Paul Rudd for Scott Lang. I mean, that's cool that they're going with Scott Lang and Hank Pym's going to be a mentor, but Hank Pym's like 80 years old, had a heart attack already with Michael Douglas playing him. I mean, I don't know. It's just and
Did you
there's so
see
much
who?
like director shit going on with it.
Did you see who they got to do the rewrites? Like they're doing more rewrites. So the problem originally, if you guys, if
I hate
the
when they do
listeners
that.
aren't aware of this issue, so the original problem was that Marvel Studios brought in a writer to do rewrites very close to when they were starting to, getting ready to start shooting, and the director at the time, I can't remember his name.
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright decided that he wasn't going to have this. It was bullshit. He didn't want somebody screwing with the script that close to production. So he quit. He walked away from the project. He said, "You know what? If you want to do it, fine, but you're going to do it without me." So he left. So the hunt was on real hard for like a week and a half, and then they landed on this guy. And now some of the rewrites have already happened. Now they're bringing in another person, which was one of the writers for Anchorman, to do more rewrites.
What the
So
hell? Why-
it's pretty
why- what
obvious
is
that
this?
they're just going to go in because they're bringing in a comedy director and they're bringing in a notable comedy writer to do last-minute rewrites. It's obvious that they're trying to pump this thing full of fun factor in the comedy genre. I think it's a terrible decision. Like, not really any of the Marvel movies, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any of the Marvel movies have been like in the comedy. Maybe Guardians of the Galaxy will be.
Well,
They've all had their
Iron Man
moments.
They've
has
all
a
had a comedic
feel.
element to them.
Yeah.
but they all had yes, there were some jokes or mildly funny spots in some of them, but when I say they weren't comedies, they weren't like long-winded scenes about goofy shit written by comedy writers. That's what these moves makes me think that they're going for. They're going for a full-blown comedy movie. I don't know, Topher, you're the biggest Marvel fan here.
I don't know. I gotta admit I'm concerned. A lot of times I'm like, oh no, just wait and see. I think it'll be good, but I am a little curious as to what they're doing. A while back, I had heard that originally the plan was to, since Ant-Man, the concept of Ant-Man, if you look, at the character's history, and a guy who shrinks himself down and talks to ants, like, there are some things that if you've been reading comic books long enough, you just come to accept, and it's like, yeah, it's wacky, but it's a comic book, But some of those are a hard sell to, to the general public. Like if you're gonna try and do well at the box office, you need. It's a movie about a guy who controls ants. Like the first thing is going to be like, isn't this Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Basically it is.
Right, but I mean, like, it was first, but
Honey, I Beat My Wife.
Honey, I got mouth cancer from eating your vagina.
Wow. So what I had heard, and I actually thought this was a really neat idea, was that they were going to do the Ant-Man movie as a precursor to his appearance in the Avengers, and it was going to be like a history backstory, and you were basically going to have like Hank Pym in his younger days, being Ant-Man, and they were going to tell it in the style of a cheesy sci-fi movie. And it sounded like a fantastic idea because you can do it tongue-in-cheek, you can poke fun at the source material, and yet actually tell the story. And then at the end of the movie, you'd have him be older. They'd show him later on, and he kind of passed the torch off to Scott Lang, and then you could bring the character into the modern world, for his inclusion in the Avengers. Now that Michael Douglas has been cast as Hank Pym, and he's already old, and they've said Paul Rudd is going to be Scott Lang, now it sounds like they're trying to do all the ant, shrinking down and talking to ants thing in the modern day. And again, if you're going to make that palatable to general audiences, I guess they've decided that they have to go the comedy route. So maybe they can do it well. I don't know, but well, and another. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here. Another piece of news was they announced the director for Doctor Strange, and what is his name? Derek something like that. Anyway, the guy Scott Derrickson. He's done the new the Deliver Us from Evil movie. He's done a few like different Insidious. He's done a couple like kind of weird, almost horror type movies. And if you look at what Marvel's doing with some of their comics right now, they're bringing back a lot of like side titles that weren't necessarily hugely popular, just based off the character alone. Like they brought back a Silver Surfer series, they brought back a Moon Knight series, and a lot of times these aren't they're not necessarily trying to tell a comic book story, and it just happens to be that character. They're doing different genres. They're playing around with different types of stories, like realistic, and gritty, or hard sci-fi, or so they're kind of branching out and saying, hey, we can make a comic book and use a character, and if this character might not have been popular as a typical comic book character, but what if we use this as an opportunity to do a book in a slightly different genre or style? And it's been actually kind of interesting, that's been fairly well received. So maybe they're doing that with the movies now, and they're saying, hey, why does every movie we make have to be a straight up comic book movie? They've shown that they can produce fantastic films. Why not branch out and see if we can make a more comedic movie, or a more sci-fi based movie, or a more almost a horror movie? So I think it might be interesting. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, and I know hardcore comic book fans are probably gonna balk at the idea, but maybe they've said, hey, we want Ant-Man to appeal to a younger audience. I would say they don't necessarily have to make every movie specifically geared towards the comic book crowd.
Why though? My question, like, I don't disagree with you. Like, I think that there's a lot of room for development of, hardcore sci-fi stuff, maybe some horror stuff, even in some genres of comic books, and probably comic or if I could talk, comedy genre films. But why Ant-Man? Why choose for your first push into the comedy genre first of all, why would you make it with a character that's already going to tie into a series that's pre-existing and not comedy? You know, has some funny moments like you guys said before, but decidedly it's an action movie, not a comedy movie. Why would you try to introduce this character? So if this movie, basically what I'm saying is, if this movie does amazing at the box office and like just blows it out of the water and it's freaking hilarious and everything like that, how does that character now fit into the Avengers?
Are you telling me that Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark is completely faithful to the comics?
No,
because it's not.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all.
He's basically a joking version of himself.
But that's not what I'm saying.
He's a comedic version of Iron Man. Like
you're not listening to me at all.
I am though. Watch the Avengers and tell me how many, like, the jokes per second, counter is pretty high. Like,
okay, yes, there are jokes, but it is not a comedy movie.
No, and it doesn't have to be, but you can bring in a character who was in a comedic movie and have him be part of a cast that tells a lot of jokes.
I just don't think if they make this movie a comedy movie and then they try to move this person over into an action movie, I just don't think it's going to work.
I don't think it's going to be a straight up slapstick, like goofy gag movie.
I mean, that's the writer that they've got. That's the director that they've got.
How? I mean, like
Anchorman? I mean, try and take if you were to try and take a character from Anchorman, Will Ferrell's character from Anchorman, and put him into like a serious drama movie, that shit's not going to work.
That's how we ended up with Jar Jar Binks, and that worked great.
Right. Case in point. Thank you. I mean, that's basically exactly what I'm talking about.
Right. I mean, it'll be hard to do. I'm not completely disagreeing with you. We don't know that this is going to be like a huge slapstick comedy. Like, I mean, Bring It On, as terrible a movie as it was not exactly like, a goofy joke fest. Like, it wasn't the best story in the world, but they tried to take themselves seriously, at least. And a lot of that is due to the writing. The director can have a vision for a film and can put that on there. But I mean, if the story isn't written as a gag reel, then the director can't turn it into a Jim Carrey movie. So,
I mean, I agree, but they did bring on. I mean, they did bring on one of the writers from the Anchorman movie, which was a very, very slapstick style, over the top humor, and it was great. Don't get me wrong, I love Anchorman. I think all of us probably love Anchorman, but I just don't see somebody's writing that would fit an Anchorman to be able to fit into the Avengers series. Especially if they're trying to develop the Avengers series into a bigger picture, more serious, ominous type of universe that it feels like they tried to do. That was definitely the direction that they're heading with the Captain America 2 Winter Soldier.
I would really like to see Avengers 2 take itself a little more seriously. Like, I loved the first one. It was... it was really fun seeing all those characters interact and play off of each other, and there were a lot of jokes. But I think what made Winter Soldier such a better movie was that it had a more grown-up theme to it, and it was they told a better story rather than just bring a crazy cast together and watch them all interact kind of thing. and yeah, I mean, if they bring in a comedic character, it's gonna obviously hurt taking it in that direction. So I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll have to see what the plan is. But at the end of the day, it's still a movie about a guy who shrinks down and rides around on ants.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some comedic.
The summary that was released with the new director was: armed with astonishing ability to shrink in scale but increase in strength, conman Scott Lang must embrace his inner hero and help his mentor, Dr. Hank Pym, protect the secret behind his spectacular Ant-Man suit from a new generation of towering threats. Against seemingly insurmountable obstacles, Pym and Lang must plan to pull off a heist that will save the world. So, the Scott Lang character is not a hero, so I could not a straight up hero, so I could understand where some comedy, because they say he's a criminal.
I mean, as long as they don't make it a straight up like
Man.
douchebag comedy situation, yeah, I get it. That could work with some jokes and some funny spots, similar to what Avengers did. I just don't know how they're going to do it. I guess it just ultimately depends on where they want this to end up. Do they want this to be like a heist type movie, or do they want this to be a comedy movie? What do you think about all this, Pirate?
I don't think it's gonna be a heist movie just because they say that. He was a con man. That's what he was before. He stole the Ant-Man suit, and
I mean, with the whole heist thing, it makes sense, especially if they're setting up different elements for, like the what is it, Gauntlet or the Infinity Gauntlet or Gauntlet Infinity or whatever it is. Like, maybe that's one of the elements that he has to heist to protect or whatever. You never know. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it'll be that bad. I mean, the comedic value, like we were talking about earlier, look at Tony Stark's character. His one-lines, and I mean, you can't watch an Iron Man without laughing.
my favorite line in Avengers was, "Hang on, Legolas," when he's lifting Hawkeye into the air.
Pucker up, Legolas.
Yeah,
It was I like the even Thor had comedy to it.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, every character had some. I got my point, I guess, ultimately was that I got the feel from watching Winter Soldier that the direction that they're trying to take these movies in is more serious, more less comedy, taking themselves more seriously and pushing into the action and drama of the situations instead of the comedic value of having the superheroes together.
Captain America's a hard one to take that from because Captain America is a very serious character.
Yeah, that's
Even if you watch the original one, there wasn't a lot of comedy.
Captain America 1 was not a serious film.
It was pretty serious.
I completely disagree.
At times, it was.
There was like full 20-minute sections that were nothing but goofy shit.
See, but the character was serious the entire time. You had some comedic elements and some, they were kind of doing the old timey,
war bonds.
Flashback kind of stuff. I mean, so they did like the cheesy history aspect to it, but at no time did the character Steve Rogers ever, ever lapse into comedies. So I mean, I think you can have a case where the character isn't necessarily defined by the style of the movie, and I think the style, whoever the character is as the movie progresses doesn't necessarily mean that's how he has to be by the end of it. I mean, he's a con man when it starts out, and by the end he's going to be an Avenger. There's nothing saying that he can't start out, taking absolutely nothing seriously and a joke a minute kind of thing, and then suddenly have the oh shit I need to be responsible thing, and then have him be more serious in that role when he's in the Avengers. I mean, look at Spider-Man. Spider-Man is. A lot of those movies have been completely wacky,
popping boners all around the world.
But I mean, they joke like crazy, to the point of slapstick in some of those, and yet they still manage to tell a good story and have the character be a serious hero at the end of the day. So I don't think that the style of the movie necessarily defines who the character has to be.
Yeah, I agree with Chris on that.
Fair enough. What else do we have in the way of news this week? Anything?
Well, we just talked about Doctor Strange recently, just a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. There's 3 actors I know that are in the running. One that's been talked about recently a lot is they want Jared Leto.
Okay.
As one of them. Another one is Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy as Bane Tom Hardy, or Benedict Cumberbatch, Khan from Star Trek into Dark.
I also read that somewhere that Hugh Laurie was in the running as well, which is the guy that plays House.
Really?
What was
Yeah.
Johnny Depp was who they had talked about for a long time.
I don't think that they're talking to him anymore from the article, at least from the article that I had read. Like
the guy
Friday.
from who's the guy from Mad Men? Michael Hamm? Is that his
John
name?
Hamm.
John
Yeah.
Hamm.
John Hamm.
He
Yeah.
was another one they brought up.
Who was the other one you said after Jared Leto?
Tom Hardy.
I don't know who that is. Who's Tom Hardy?
Played Bane.
Oh, that guy.
What a lovely singing voice.
Yeah, they've been talking about Jared Leto a lot recently.
Yeah. I don't like it. Isn't Jared Leto like short?
I don't know how tall.
I don't know.
I feel like Doctor Strange, the character of Doctor Strange, should have been
tall.
a little aged and like.
Right.
I like Hugh Laurie for it. I think the dude that plays House. Do you guys watch the House show?
Yeah, I think.
I love that show. It was one of my favorite shows.
I think he would be good.
Well, and he's got the
Plus
surgeon
he's
background.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's
So-
already got a lot of the background research and knowledge as far as medical terms and stuff like that to fit right into the persona of Doctor Strange. I think he could. And he's a cynical motherfucker. Like, I think he could really do something pretty neat.
And that's
I
going
think
to be a dark
I think
movie.
he's too
too.
old. I think he's too old for it.
Oh no.
With a little bit of makeup, it'd be fine.
He's an amazing actor, and I love the dude, and I think he'd be great. The personality fits, but I don't know if the image and the age quite do.
He's probably in his mid to late 40s.
Doctor Strange is, yeah.
I'd say he's right about the right age.
Because I picture Doctor Strange, as like late 40s, anyways.
Mid 40s, it'd probably be good.
I think that would be. I think it'd be really interesting. Do I think he's going to get it? Probably not. I mean, that's a pretty big role for somebody that really hasn't had. He hasn't had anything major other than House. I don't think has he. Has he been in any he hasn't had any major starring roles in theatrical films, has he?
Not in America so much, but he's one of the biggest British actors around.
Yeah.
Like he's like a fucking national treasure in the UK.
Right, but it's mostly TV though. It's not. It's not like worldwide theatrical films, is it?
He's been in movies. He does theater a lot too.
Of course, he's a Brit.
Yeah, they all do. It's a country full of thespians.
So what do we have? Anything else before we wrap things up here?
iZombie photos got leaked.
Oh
for
yeah,
the TV show.
What do you think about
Which
that?
I'm kind of looking forward to it because
So we got another
actually
Walking Dead, basically.
comics.
Hugh Laurie is 55.
Oh,
Thank you for blowing out my eardrums too, by the way.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I apologize to all our
the,
listeners for Brian.
I thought the comic was pretty good. I started reading it. It's an interesting. I like weird stuff too, like Pinocchio the Vampire Slayer and shit. But I'm kind of looking forward to it. I don't know if the show's going to be all that great, but I mean the comic isn't bad. I mean
the trailer seemed good. I mean it's not going to be. Yeah, it's not going to be like Arrow or I just hit my computer, or what Flash is going to be like, or Constantine, or Gotham. But I think it'll be a fun show to watch for that Tom Taylor.
How close do you think it's going to be to Walking Dead?
She has to eat a brain once a month, and then has to fucking she gets all the person's memories and flashbacks of that person. And she eats the brain. So the first comic starts off with a murder mystery. The brain she eats was someone who was murdered, so she goes and finds, and she has a friend who's a ghost from the '60s, and
They're
a guy who's in love with her, and he's a were terrier. So I mean, that's the comic. I don't know if they're in the
yeah, it's not going to be a dark show, a violent show like Walking Dead. It's going to be like a fun show.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be stupendous, but I think it looks good, and, I would watch it.
What cracks me up is Brian can get behind literally anything except for the Batman Superman movie.
Yeah.
Be like, we've got this documentary that's coming out next month, and it's about a polished turd. And Brian be like, well,
Probably good.
it's probably not
I like
going to be
it.
that great, but it'll probably still be better than Batman Superman.
I'd watch Bring It On again. Superpowers instead of Batman vs Superman.
Fuck you. Fuck you. If you lose the bet, you're going to wear a cheerleader outfit on the podcast.
Wow.
God damn it.
I don't even. I hope he doesn't lose the bet now because I don't want to see that shit.
Yeah, I haven't shaved my ass in a while.
They'll be like, I got this cheerleader outfit, but they was all out of the underwear, so I'm commando.
He's like, well, I have this cheerleader outfit, but it's kind of small because I've had it for the last 10 years.
What's that
Like,
noise?
what?
What's that? Are you clapping in the background? Now that's my balls.
I got nothing in place to hold him tight.
Oh, he's Spider-Man, and
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
I'll wear my
he's
skirt.
like, you guys
and
want to
hang
see
up
my
like that.
Spider-Man statue impersonation?
My spider boner.
Spider-Man.
Oh, my God. So is that like...
This is my impersonation of Spider-Man when he wakes up in the morning.
We'll be now called Comic Book Nard Nation.
Nard Nation.
Well, we can't have Wolfman then because they have no. Wolfman doesn't have nards.
Got no nards.
Wolfman has no nards.
All right. So I think we've talked about dicks and balls enough for one episode.
What?
Hit our quota.
John's like, you never have enough.
Never have never have enough D talk.
Okay. All right. Well, that wraps it up for this week's episode of Penis Infused Podcast Fury. I'm Fox 2. We got DePirate,
I really want a chimichanga now.
Topher,
Next week we're talking about Days of Future Past, whether you're ready or not.
Yeah.
and the whole effing Brian.
Yeah, I will not be wearing a skirt.
See you guys.
I won't be wearing underwear.